Hello and welcome to Industry Insight Sessions from Change in Education. My name is Amos Madra and I'm a careers advisor here at Change in Education. And in this program, we get to speak to industry experts about their own career journey and get some tips and advice on how they can help you in your own career journey. Joining me today is Laura Ann Williams, who is the owner of Get Social. Laura Ann is a social media expert who has been credited with increasing engagement for many of her clients on social media. Laura Ann, a very warm welcome to you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm a little bit taken aback by that lovely intro. Is it me who's talking to? Is there someone else here?
So it's, social media is such a complicated place. People are trying to figure out, where do you begin? What do you do? What's it all
Yeah.
about? So can you tell us about your business and the connection to social media?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that I find most interesting about the job that I'm doing now is that, when I was the age that a lot of your viewers are going to be, sort of 16 to 18, social media didn't exist. So the job that I'm doing now was non-existent, and it was the same when I graduated from university. Facebook had only just launched. So that still kind of blows my mind because, when we're kind of told that we're supposed to vaguely know what kind of career we want from when we're like 8, when we're knee high to a grasshopper, they're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, I don't know. Rich? Would that do? So, I think, when you do think about what you want to do with your life is really, really long, and you don't have to have all the answers by the time you're 18, because you haven't really been out and experienced a lot of life yet. So I think the kind of pressure that we tend to put on young people is astronomical as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing I always say to students when they say to me, I don't know what to do, you don't have to have it all figured out. It's good to start thinking about what you do want to do, but you don't have to have it all figured out. So when did you get it figured out and when did Get Social start?
I'll let you know when I've got it figured out, when I've decided what I want to do when I'm grown up. But Get Social itself actually started just over a year ago now. So I'm in my second year of business. So I had the trial by fire of year one in business during 2020. So I'm generally quite positive about everything. I'm like, well, I survived that. I can't get much worse. Fingers crossed. So but I initially, when I graduated from university, I worked in hospitality. So I was running pubs and restaurants for a good 10 years before I even moved to a normal desk job. And the way I kind of did that transition was to go through temping work. So I temped as an admin assistant and then as an account executive for a pharmaceutical marketing company. And then I managed to find a job for an online gift company, which basically meant that I got to play at work for most of the day. So there's video footage of me, eating chocolate teapots live on Facebook and chasing after edible bubbles and the office dog eating some of the edible bubbles and vomiting on my boots. We've got, it was just kind of like, this is not work, is it? But I'm getting paid to do this. This is quite good fun. So kind of from that, I kind of continued working with marketing agencies. And then the last agency that I was at, they were looking at niching down into a slightly different industry. So they were looking at predominantly doing marketing for cosmetic surgery and aesthetic entrepreneurs, which is absolutely fine, but it's not something that I was personally particularly interested in. And I didn't like a lot of the marketing style that was about at the time, because a lot of it is, we need to make you feel bad in order for you to want to buy a product to make you look better. And I just wasn't comfortable with that. It just didn't really sit with me. And I kind of looked at it and thought, I'm going to be really, really miserable if I do this. I'll still be able to pay my rent and everything, but I'm going to be really miserable. And I don't want to be. We spend so much of our time at work. It's not really worth it if you're not enjoying it. So from that point, I kind of went, oh, well, what's a good idea? What's the, who's the only person who can never sack me? It's me. So I decided to just try setting up my own social media agency. And it's so far, touch wood, throw salt over your left shoulder, spin round, spit on the ground 3 times. It's all going quite nicely.
But so that, I mean, that must have been really difficult, taking that leap from being employed to suddenly, it's all on you. And obviously, everything is on you now, isn't it? So there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. Was it difficult? Did you feel a lot of pressure moving from being
So
employed to being your own boss?
I think I'm the kind of personality who likes to jump first and then build my safety net on the way down. So I think it's, obviously running a business, it's not for everybody. Not everybody can do it. It can be a lot of work, but I think kind of I went into it with the attitude of I'm going to make a lot of mistakes because I'm a human being. I've not done this before. However, if I do make mistakes, I want to learn from them, and then I won't make the same mistake twice. And if it does all go horribly wrong, I can always go and get a job again. There's nothing that says that if you've tried to start your own business and it hasn't been successful. I can't remember the statistics, but it's a ridiculously high proportion of businesses that fail in the first 12 months. And you kind of think of that statistic and then you go, okay, so what if I do fail? I wouldn't be alone. I wouldn't be the first person who's gone, I want to start a business and it hasn't gone quite how I wanted. So I kind of had that sort of attitude to it is, okay, I'm going to try something new. And if I don't like it, I can walk away from it, which is actually a very good friend of mine, a lovely couple, and I've known them since I was about 22. And they've kind of shown me the example of, I don't like this job, so I'll quit and I'll go and do something else. And just kind of having that confidence that you are going to find something else. There's loads of jobs out there. There's loads of different career paths. And just, there's no point. And as I said earlier, we spend so much time at work. There's no point sitting in a job that you hate because it's only going to make you miserable. And then that'll impact on everything else in your life. So, if you're doing a job and it's not quite what you wanted, or it's taken a different turn to what you were originally planning, it's okay to kind of say, do you know what, this doesn't serve me anymore. I'm not enjoying this, so I'm going to look at doing something else. And, I think there's a big proportion of people who are doing portfolio careers now as well. So instead of having one full-time job, they've got 3 or 4 part-time ones, and they just kind of dip in and out of the different elements that they want to work in. So you almost get to try before you buy, before you commit to a whole career, basically. And it's not the same as going to medical school for like 6 years, and then you work in a hospital for 1 week and go, I don't like it, I've changed my mind.
Yeah.
But, you kind of, you don't have to make decisions for what you're going to do for the next 60 years, because who has that kind of foresight? Nobody does. So, but we kind of put this pressure on ourselves of going, no, I've chosen a career, I may never leave it. At no point am I allowed to change my mind. And it's going, no, you can change your mind at any point that you like. Who says you can't?
Yeah, and that's it. You can always change your mind, can't you? I think there's a quote that says it doesn't matter how long you've traveled in the wrong direction, you can always turn around. Yeah. So, what is a social media agency like Get Social? What do you do?
So I kind of have 2 prongs to my business. I do social media management, which is predominantly for the smaller businesses, and that's for people who they either don't have the time or they don't have the inclination to manage their business's social media, and they just want to hand it off to someone else. and go, could you do this for me, please? So I have a few clients that I actually manage their social media for. And then I also have a training aspect to my business where I actually show small businesses how to do it for themselves. So it might be that someone has just started their own business and they've gone, I know I need to be on social media. I have no idea what I should be doing. So we actually build a little plan together. So I will work with them to create a strategy for what they're actually using their social media for. Because if you're posting without intention, you're not going to get the results that you're not telling people you want, essentially. So we work together to, I show them how to actually build the content for themselves. So, how to do any of the design work. We talk about how to actually structure their captions for social media. We talk about calls to action and calls to conversation as well, because something that is horrendously prevalent for most businesses in social media is they are constantly posting going, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. And we don't actually like being sold at, but we love being marketed to. And there's a fine line with posting as a business on social media, because obviously you want to promote your services, but we don't buy from people that we don't know, like, or trust. And your social media, the clue is in the name, it's social. It's your opportunity to talk to your potential customers and to tell them a bit about what it is you do, what makes you different to other people in your industry or to your competitors. And it also gives you a chance to show that you're a human being. So, there's a person behind the computer, which is, astonishing that just how quickly we can forget. So, you can put two people in a room together and they'll talk to each other. But if you put a computer screen between them, we're only going to look at the computer screen and we're not going to remember that there's a person behind it as well. And it's a similar kind of concept to one of the ways that I quite like to explain it to my clients is if you walked up to a complete stranger in the middle of the street and said, I've got a product, will you buy it? They're going to go, what? No thank you, go away, leave me alone. And then maybe we follow them into a couple of shops as they walk down the high street and go, how about now? Will you buy it from me now? And they're still going to be going, no, who are you? Leave me alone.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of if you look at John Lewis with their Christmas adverts, they some of the Christmas adverts, they don't even put the products on there. It's just the story, it's the emotion, it's the connection with people, it's telling the story, the time of year where it's all about family, all about relationships, all about doing good for one another. And it doesn't necessarily have to have a product in there that they're trying to sell. It's just a message. And it's that message, like you said, that we enjoy. We enjoy being, I think you said something really important. We enjoy being marketed to. We don't enjoy being sold to. And that's a very interesting point that you made there. When you first started your business, did you always think that you were going to diversify because you've got two aspects of it? Was it always your plan to run social media accounts for your clients at the same time, teach people how to run their own social media platforms, or was that something that happened organically?
It was always the plan for there to be sort of two arms to the business, but the amount of each that I was doing, that's definitely flipped over the past 12 months. So initially I wanted to have perhaps a 70% amount of clients that were training clients and then 30% retainer clients. That's now completely switched around. So I now have 70% retainer clients. And I'm actually, so initially, my worry about having lots of retainer clients was that I might get bored. And also I have a finite amount of ideas. Don't tell anyone. But I'm not going to be able to come up with a brand new idea for every day of the year for 20 different clients or so. It's not going to happen. My brain isn't that big. But I've actually found, over the past year, particularly with the start of the pandemic and when we went into full lockdown in March, I was expecting everything to disappear overnight. And actually, I've never been so busy. My phone has never rung so much in my life. So there was so many clients, and these are people, predominantly people that I knew through networking. So I had a pre-existing relationship with them for sort of 6 months or so. And then suddenly they were all calling me going, so I've been thinking about being on social media. Now I can't actually see anybody face to face. And, we're never going to be allowed to be in the same room with strangers again. Could you help, please? And so I'm one of the slightly unusual people in that my business has grown in the last year rather than contracted.
I mean, I've seen on your website just some of the clients who you're working with. I mean, you've got clients, it seems, all over the world, lots in America. I've seen that you're working with clients who've also got their own podcasts, and it's all sorts of things that you're doing with them. So, and some of these are very high profile clients. How did you come into contact with these people? Was it something that you intended, or was it like a little black book that you had with all these names that were already there? What was the process in that?
I mean, the vast majority of my clients actually come to me through referral. So that could be that, a client I've worked with previously has mentioned my name to somebody else. And essentially where I wanted to be was, I wanted, as soon as someone kind of said, I need to do something with my social media, I wanted people to be like, oh, I know exactly who you should speak to about that. And so kind of the way that I went about it was, I've done a few speaking events at networking events, and just generally being myself as well, because I'm not a quiet person. I'm not particularly shy. I'm very good at misbehaving in formal settings. I like making people laugh as well. And so I've been known a bit more for my personality than just my business card as well. And I think that kind of ties into the whole aspect of social media. And like we said earlier, people buy from people. And that's a phrase that you hear over and over and over again in a small business community. Everybody says people buy from people. But how is someone going to buy from you if they don't know who you are? So if you turn up to a networking meeting and maybe you're nervous, maybe you don't really say anything, or you don't have a huge amount to contribute, you're not going to be particularly memorable for the other people who are there. Whereas if you turn up and you've managed to throw coffee over someone on your first day, which I did, that's very good. Or just if you just manage to fall into a room that you've walked into, which I have also done, it makes you slightly more memorable.
Yeah.
And then that way you'll kind of you stick in people's minds for whatever industry that you're working in as well. So people get to know who you are first, and then they learn about your business, and then they can recommend your business to other people.
For a young person who's watching this, who's probably thinking, I'd love to do that. I'd love to network with great people like who you have spoken to. I'd love to be the person who gets referred. But because of lockdown, because I don't know anybody, I've never been in a networking event in my life. I've got no clue where to begin. What would you say to somebody who's in that position and thinking, where do I start?
So to someone who's in that position, I would say Google is your friend. Google local networking groups. Most of them will have websites. Have a little look at the kind of content they've got on their website. Have a look at their social media as well and see sort of how interactive they are, and just ask questions as well. And if anybody wants to know about any networking groups, feel free to email me. I will quite happily talk you through the local ones and give you my recommendations. But there'll be some networking groups that are free, some that you pay for, some that are quite informal and they're just kind of like a little gathering. So it's almost like a hive mind, and you just turn up online and you just chat to people and you see where it goes, really. I think the most important thing when you do go networking is to remember to be yourself and breathe. So, you're staying fairly calm. And if you're nervous, tell people. why not? You can say, oh, this is my first networking event. I've not done one of these before. And more than likely, you'll find someone being like, oh, little dude, let me help you. Let me introduce you to some people. So yeah, I think that's, basically be a little bit brave and jump in.
Yeah, definitely. I like that one. I think some people could abuse that for after 5 years. This is my first networking event, especially if you're
Oh,
just getting your leads.
Yeah, well, I still do that. It's like when I lived in Bath, I lived there for 8 years. I'm terrible at street names. I can never remember them. And the number of times I'd say to people, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't live here. I don't know where things are." But just because that was easier for me to say than I'm dyslexic. I'm really bad with street names.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't help you. I'd instead just be like, "Oh, I don't live here. I'm just a tourist. It's fine."
Yeah.
That's
it. Yeah.
Get away with it for as long as you can. Why not?
Yeah. Use all the tools that are available to you and make it work.
Exactly.
Definitely agree. How did you become the go-to person?
I think predominantly through actually building a referral network. So I have referral partners. I have lots of people that I have either worked with or that I've met through networking, and we kind of refer business to each other, or we kind of keep our ear to the ground. So, for example, the reason that I'm speaking to you is because I know Carla Barker, and I met Carla through networking, and we passed lots of business to each other. And in fact, I was actually chatting to Carla yesterday, so we had a really nice catch up.
Send my regards to Carla.
I will. So yeah, it's basically find your cheerleaders and you find the people who want to support you as well, and then you support them in turn, and that's the main way to do it, I would say. And I think the other thing that's perhaps slightly different about me is that I'm not going to tell my clients that they need to be on every single social media platform, because they don't need to be. So this time last year, I was chatting to a jeweler, so a jewellery company, and sort of his demographic was 35 to 45-year-old women. And he was saying that he'd been told by another agency that he needed to be on TikTok. And I was like, okay, pre-pandemic, the average age of a TikTok user was between 9 and 13, and they do not have the pocket money to buy your bling.
Yeah.
So there's no point in you being there. You may as well just stand and talk to a wall, because your people aren't there. But the main reason is that this agency has told you that you should be on TikTok is, one, it's trendy, so everybody's talking about it, and two, so they can charge you for setting you up on there. And that's money that you may as well set fire to. There's no point in investing in being on TikTok if your audience isn't there. And I'm quite comfortable to say that to potential clients as well. And I'm quite comfortable saying to some people, you don't actually need me. Just, you'd be wasting your money. You don't need me. You already know what you're doing. So, we can have this little chat, we can have a get together, have a cup of coffee, have a little natter, but you basically already know what you're doing. So I don't want to take your money from you, because that's gonna really hurt my soul later on, because I won't have actually done anything for you to have earned. Is that
You've made a really good point there, because what that reminds me of is I remember someone telling me a story years ago, and I think, trying to cut the long story short, a factory had an issue with one of their machines and they couldn't fix it. So they called an engineer to come round, an expert. He came round and in 2 minutes fixed the machine. So they said, we could have done that ourselves when they saw that he'd fixed it. And he explained to them, yes, you could have done it yourselves, but you didn't know how to do it. So, that knowledge of how to do it is something that is not readily available to everyone. Yes, anybody can set up a social media account, but for them to be able to grow it, you still need that expert where you come in play and you put your knowledge and experience in. So it doesn't matter if anyone can open a TikTok account or LinkedIn or whatever social media account, but growing that account needs an expert like you. So that's what I've taken from that. Does hard work pay off?
Yes. Absolutely. And I
Okay.
think, you know, if you're working hard towards something and you're not getting exactly where you want to be, then it's always a good idea to take a step back and perhaps ask somebody else as well. So you can ask a friend, you can ask a colleague, total stranger as well. It's like you know, back in the days when we were allowed to go into shops and try on clothes, my mum always said to me, if you're not sure how something looks, ask a complete stranger in the changing room, because they're going to give you an honest opinion, because they have nothing to lose by telling you something honestly. And I think that's the same in business as well. So you try to get as much feedback from everybody around you as you possibly can. And if you're not getting to where you want to be, ask other people questions, tell them what you're doing to try to reach that point, and then they might see something that you haven't thought of as well. So I think, you know, even if you are a sole trader, if you're a one-man band, have that support network around you and have the people that you can ask questions to, because if you don't have that, that's when it gets very lonely, and that's when it can feel very stressful, because you're kind of there going, I am working really, really hard, but I don't know if I'm doing things right, I don't know if I'm not doing things right. And actually having that support network around you and that support system is really, really important.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you for sharing that with us. What's your day-to-day work like?
So my day-to-day work is generally I work from sort of between 9 and 10 o'clock, because I'm a lazy person and I don't like getting up in the morning. And I tend to work through till about 2 or 3, and then I take a couple of hours off and I come back and do some more work later. And I tend to, in the mornings, I spend my time doing the interaction on social media for my clients. And then afternoons, evenings, I might do some of my own writing work. This is all in between wrangling my pet chameleon, who rules my entire house, a tree in every room in the house, and just generally actually getting to enjoy myself as well. So, I view social media as my playground. So that's where I go to have fun. So I don't really tend to kind of keep track of the hours that I'm doing, so long as everything is done. Doesn't matter whether I've worked 12 hours in a day or whether I've worked 3 hours in a day. So long as everything is done and I'm happy and my clients are happy, fantastic. Happy days. Everybody's awesome.
Happy days indeed. And what do you enjoy most about your job? When are those happy days?
I think the thing that I enjoy the most with the training, it's the light bulb moments with my clients when you explain something to them and they go, oh, that makes sense. I've never thought of that before. Oh, suddenly everything is becoming clear. I love those moments. They're very, very satisfying. And I love as well, kind of creating a piece of content that makes other people's followers happy as well. I kind of refer to that as the warm fuzzies. So it's like the John Lewis Christmas advert that, we just kind of go, oh, I've got like this nice warm, glowing feeling. Everything feels good. And I love giving people that feeling.
Yeah. And I think that's the most important thing. It's how you make people feel, isn't it? I think there's a quote that says people will forget what you say to them, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I suppose, and I suppose with your job, that's what you get to do every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what advice would you offer to a young person watching this thinking, I'd love to be doing what you're doing. How can I get into this career? What would you say?
I would say find the people to learn from as well. So if you know what you want to do, go out, and I refer to this as professional stalking. And I do this on LinkedIn as well when I'm looking for clients. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start stalking some people on LinkedIn so I can interact with them and be like, hi, didn't see you there. Can I do some work for you? So we kind of, that's how you start it. You find the people that you want to ask questions of, And don't be disheartened if one or two of them say, no, I don't have time for this right now. And just keep going. You keep asking questions, and you'll find that there will, particularly with the new Kickstarter scheme that the government's done, there will be lots and lots of opportunities for people to do work experience, for people to do apprenticeships, or just to be around an office space where you can kind of soak up some of the culture. You can work out the things that you like, you can work out the things that you perhaps don't like quite as much. So I think that the main thing that you can do is to put yourself forward, because there will be lots of other people who are too scared to do that. So you won't have as much competition as you think you will, and you will stand out for knowing what you want and for asking someone to help you get it.
Yeah.
So you look for your mentors.
Excellent advice. And you mentioned LinkedIn. There's a lot of mentoring going on LinkedIn. Why is it such a unique social media platform?
Well, the thing about LinkedIn is it's business focused, but you still get to show some personality in it. So kind of the initial idea of LinkedIn was that it was an online CV platform, essentially. But the way that it works now is you use it to build professional relationships with people. And that's not to say that, you pitch slap everybody and, you send them a direct message going, I'd like to work with you, please, can I do this? Because we get so many messages like that every single day that people just go, no, don't even read them. But if you spend a couple of weeks interacting with somebody's content on LinkedIn, so if you're, liking on it, commenting on it, sharing it, and kind of trying to start a conversation with them, it's actually very flattering to the person who's posted that piece of content. So, and this is like the gentle stalking that I was referring to earlier. And this is where we actually build up the relationships, so that when you do come to the point where you want to ask them for some help, you're not doing it cold. So it's not like turning up to a complete stranger and saying, could you help me with this, please? Because they now have the incentive to want to help you because they know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, so it's very reciprocal, isn't it?
Absolutely.
What would you say is the best social media platform right now to use for you personally?
For me personally, it's LinkedIn, because that is where I find a fair amount of my business. It's where I can make sure that I'm staying in touch with my referral partners, so I can continue supporting them on their social media as well. And then just for fun, Instagram, because I love the visual element of it.
I love the gram.
I love the gram. I hate reels though. I'm a terrible social media person. I hate reels. I can't stand them. I'm just like, no, this does not work for me. Where are my pretty pictures of books? Let's go back to that.
Yeah. I think Instagram have certainly got a bit of everything, haven't they? You've got some LinkedIn in there, you've got Facebook, obviously, Snapchat, and even TikTok. I suppose the Reels are there to rival TikTok. So, what are your plans for the future?
Oh gosh, beyond next week, who knows? So I would like to grow my business to the point where I have enough work to keep me busy, to keep me productive and engaged. But I actually don't want to grow my business to the point where I need to bring on employees, because that way I'm going to end up managing people as my full-time role rather than doing the bits of my business that I love doing. And so, I'm quite comfortable with the idea that I don't need to take over the world. I don't need to be the one and only person who works in social media in the whole world, because that's far too much work. And if I'm doing all of that, I don't get to do the fun stuff. Like, I won't have time to do any of my own writing, or to do painting, or be creative, or chase my chameleon around the house going, where have you gone?
Yeah.
So, it's actually my long-term dream is to have the proper work-life balance.
That's really,
That's incredibly valuable. And that's more important to me than, having the Scrooge McDuck money bin that I can jump into the gold and be like, yay, I'm rich, but I'm so lonely. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But I think there's a certain amount of power in that, and knowing what you want and knowing exactly where you want to stop the element of growth.
Yeah, that's really important advice. I think one of your blogs was slaying your lane. I think it fits in with that because sometimes you can want to expand so rapidly, and then by the time you get there, you're like, okay, this is not exactly what I expected. It reminds me of the penguins from Madagascar when they went to the North Pole. Like, this sucks. And then they went back to Madagascar. Yeah. So sometimes the grass is not always green on the other side, and knowing exactly what you want and being reflective, self-awareness, understanding where you're comfortable, happy is really important. And obviously you found your cadence and you know exactly what you're happy with. And I think that's really important to the audience to understand that for themselves as well. It's where you're happy.
There's no point in following somebody else's expectations for what you should be doing. And I can't remember who said it, but what other people think about you is none of your business.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So, it might be that, you've worked your way up the career ladder and you've stopped at a certain point because you don't want to go any higher. It's nobody's business why you've decided to stop at that point and that you don't want to go any higher. And you don't have to worry about what other people think about it because you know why you're doing it. You know that you're happy where you are. What else matters?
Yeah. What else matters exactly, as long as you're happy. So how can people find out more about you?
Oh gosh, if people want to start stalking me, I've mentioned professional stalking. You can pop along to my website, which is get-social.media, or you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Laura Ann Williams. And you can find me on Instagram as well and Facebook, and just basically wherever you think I might be, just find me. I'm there. I'll be the loud person wearing very bright colours.
Fantastic. Laura, thank you so much indeed for taking the time to sit down here with us today. It's been an absolute joy talking to you and just hearing your story. Just how fulfilled, happy you are in doing what you do. And I think that's the most important thing. There's the quote that says, find a job that you enjoy doing and you'll never work a day in your life. And it looks like you're not working, you're having fun and enjoying yourself. and that's really important, for just well-being and for, for our own general well-being. It's really important. And, you're a great example of that. So I just want to say thank you very much indeed.